This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell-Beck and Randy Blake.
That's right. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Terry, and everybody out there.
That's it. Happy warm Saturday. 45-degree weather's warm.
Heat wave.
That's it. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of you out there. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Give us a shout on the email, allabouthomeconstruction@gmail.com too. We've gotten quite a bit of listener information from there too. We appreciate that, especially those from the podcast as well, reaching out that way. So thanks a lot. And it's been fun, man. So how's your week?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, everything we got's outside, so there ain't much you can do in this weather.
Well, it's been kind of rough that when it comes to the high country weather the last 2 months, 8 weeks.
We're not used to it. How about that?
It's been a while. It's been a good 10, 12 years since we've had a winter quite this harsh, I guess. Lots of snow that have stuck around for a while too. Yep. Lots of little snows, I think, that have added up, and it's been cool. I don't know what the snow total is this year. I should look that up one day. But
I don't mind it because it's putting water in the ground.
Right.
And this summer, that it might help us if it comes to fire.
Well, and we've seen some of that already in the region, right, in the mountains of North Carolina. So for sure, and it's crazy. It's crazy, but. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen in the next 12 months.
Well, let's just cross our fingers.
That's it. We need a wet summer, just to kind of keep things down.
We're in La Nina,
yep.
So we should have above normal precipitation. So
there we go. Mr. Weatherman Randy, thanks for that.
Well, being a farmer.
Fair.
Patch farmer, how about that?
Yeah. Perfect. But no, you're right. It's going to be an interesting year for sure. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad we've gotten a lot of snow that's just sat on the ground and worked its way into the aquifers for sure. So, well, how's things going? So I know the VFW dinner the other week you said turned out fairly well. Good turnout.
Yes, it did. We had a good time. Had a lot of good comments, and thanks to everybody coming out.
Nice. So you were mentioning, though, too, and about a month or two ago, we had the gentleman from the VFW down in Wilkesboro come on and talk to us a little bit about some of the supplies and stuff, and you said they're still doing some of that.
Yes, they are. And so you can get a hold of the Wilkesboro Post if you know a veteran in need, and they're still gathering materials to help veterans. Also, the VFW here in Boone has funds for veterans. Nice. And so if you know a veteran that needs something, please give the VFW in Boone a call.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, again, it goes back to helping neighbors out, neighbors helping neighbors out. And I know that sounds like there's a lot of people still struggling, a lot of people still trying to clean up and build up and repair. And, it's a rough time of year. I think there's probably been a lot of people who have realized they had some damage that they probably didn't know until the winter hit, especially when it came to like insulation and things like that, that got damaged. And
correct. And a lot of people, even though you get water in your house, if you can get dehumidifiers in, get fans in, that can save you a lot of work too.
Right.
It won't save you carpets.
Right.
But it might save some of your insulation in the walls.
Yeah.
It won't save your drywall, especially old paneling and stuff like that. If you can get on it faster.
Sure.
Because it had the VOC glues in it.
Right. That didn't.
With formaldehyde, so it generally don't come apart as fast.
Yeah. No, you're right. And, it's interesting. I know that I still think there's going to be a lot of repairs that we don't realize for the next year or two.
I'd say it'll go on for about 10 years.
And I'm wondering, too, like, I'm no soil engineer, but with the flooding and things like that, and now we're getting this freezing and thawing, when spring really hits, do you think we're going to see a shift of an influx, rather, of people who have, like, foundation issues?
I would think so, and which we know a good company that takes care of stuff like that. But It depends on how the house was undermined, if
Right.
it was undermined at all.
Right.
Because, there's a good contractor and a bad contractor, and a good contractor will make sure your footers is on solid ground.
Right. Right.
Not on a field dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And generally where you see these cracks in the foundations and stuff, that's because that's on a field
On
dirt.
a fill area. So.
And there are ways to address that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, without digging it all out and redoing the foundation, what do you do?
Well, that's about what you got to do.
Yeah.
But, for one of the jobs that we did back in the late 80, early 90, a lady had a crack in her foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know nothing about foundation repair. But we dug it out, poured a footer under the footer, took a 20-ton jack and jacked it back up and poured it, and that jack's still underneath the house.
Just left the jack.
Yeah,
cement it in.
Yeah, and so I was 20 years ahead of my time for what all these other people was doing.
That's cool.
But the thing they can do that I can't do is they can actually correct fireplaces.
Right.
From
Yeah.
poor construction. I can't remember when the codes changed on foundation for fireplaces, but a foundation for a fireplace is a lot bigger than a footer.
Sure. It's a lot more weight, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with a lot of weight.
Under the fire code, a house can burn down, but the chimney's got to be standing.
Mm-hmm. Which you see that a properly built house, when you see a devastated house that's been burned, a lot of times that's what you see, especially the old houses, right? Like how many places out in the woods in North Carolina do we go out and you see just a chimney standing with no building around it, right? So even, I guess I say that because even without modern codes, chimneys have always had extra care, I think, put into them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, most people don't realize there's got to be 2-inch clearance around any framing or anything.
Right.
Insulation can touch it, drywall can touch it, siding can touch it. But that's the thermal break from the masonry unit into the house.
Now, is that same code required to, we'll get into our topic here in a little bit, but is the same code required if you use, say, for instance, steel or some other product besides wood?
Yeah, they still want 2-inch clearance.
I mean, it makes sense. There's still a thermal discharge.
The only time you don't have the 2-inch clearance is when you have heatilators or
Okay.
gas log system, stuff like that, because they have 0 clearance units.
Right.
So your studs can go, everything can go up top.
Right. Well, I tell you what I'm interested in is how over the next couple decades, right? Like there was this huge shift of people who have fireplaces, chimneys that they turn into gas logs and gas chimneys now.
Yep.
But now that gas has been such a popular thing, the gas logs and stuff, the chimneys are more, like you said. I mean, they're not designed the same as a wood chimney.
Correct.
And so it's easy to go from a wood chimney to a gas logs, but you can't go the other way. I mean, in other words, if you build it for gas logs, that's what you got.
Well, it depends. See, some heatilators have a 8-inch flue top on them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have a 16-inch flue top. The 16-inch, you got the metal pipe, you can convert it over to wood.
By putting a new lining in.
No, the lining's already there.
So it's the same lining.
Yeah,
Okay.
stainless steel.
Okay.
But there should be a cap on that fireplace where the gas is
Right.
in the heatilator itself, so you can use that unit. But a lot of them have 4-inch vents on them, so you can never use those. You got to start over on it.
Nice. Okay. Well, and that's what I was wondering. Like you'd switch over. Of course, a lot of people don't like the wood. I'm old school. I love wood heat, and I miss it.
We actually had a fireplace that had fire brick in it, and the fire brick had cracked over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So the homeowner actually wanted us to take it out. We took it out and had it rebuilt, and with steel, quarter plate steel built back.
Right.
Clemens built the top of it and everything, and went back to a wood burner.
That's pretty cool. All right. Well, it's possible. I was wrong. So that's cool stuff. So, well, there we go. Learn something new every day. Look, I'm not knocking gas, by the way. I mean, it's nice. Press a button and it's on.
Well, natural gas now I think natural gas is going to pick up in this county, and natural gas is a lot cheaper than propane.
Right.
If we don't use natural gas in our houses, what do they do with it? They
Just
burn it in the atmosphere.
it just vents up in the atmosphere. Yeah.
They burn it.
Yeah. Might as well put it to use, right?
Yep.
So, yep. No, I think it's cool. I mean, it's when it comes to fossil fuels, I think natural gas is a solid one to use.
Well, now they're saying that that's a misconception because the Earth's manufacturing oil all the time.
Okay.
So fossil fuels is actually what coal's made out of.
Right.
Leaves and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's got to be made sometime, somehow. So what's to say that it's not continuing to be made? I'm with you on that.
Well, what they're saying is you go down in the Gulf of Mexico, where there isn't any oil drilling rigs, and you'll find oil balls on the seafloor.
Right.
Just like big balls of tar.
Right.
And they say it's crude oil.
That's why they want to drill, baby.
And, well, as long as it's safe.
Well, I mean, technology's improved so much that I think, again, not to get too much into some of the social stuff of this, but like pipelines are safer than they've ever been before.
Yes,
drills,
especially after BP's incident.
Yeah, and all that whole industry is way safer than it's ever been in the entire existence of it. And the more we do, the more safety measures we're going to put in place. We're going to figure out new things and put in place. So,
correct.
Anyway, yeah. But it's not to say I don't like electric cars too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I like them both. And I'll take whatever one you want to give me, Randy.
Well, I'm sorry.
We'll take a break and we'll get into the topic right after this. Thanks for listening. Are you ready to level up your home construction game? Obviously, you've subscribed to All About Home Construction. Now we would like to ask you for some support. You can be like Dave, Bill, and Skipper and help support All About Home Construction. The links are in the show notes. That's right, All About Home Construction. Thanks for listening to us. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Or send us an email, allabouthomeconstruction@gmail.com. Also on the Facebook, the lovely Facebook. So, all right. So Randy wants to talk about me this morning. Right? That's what we're talking about, studs this morning.
Well, he's the only single man in the building.
Yeah,
so.
well, studs. What can I say?
Type of studs.
T-studs.
T-studs?
That's what we're talking about.
Well, wood studs.
Oh, wait. No, let's just talk about T-studs.
Well, we talked about, we have T-studs up. Nobody. There's probably only one person out there that knows what a T-stud is. And we were asked to talk about this about a year ago. And they were developed evidently in Canada. And what it is, they'll take a 2x2 member, or like in this picture I'm looking at, is a 3.5-inch stud turned flat.
Right.
Instead of standing up like we're normally used to. Then they have another one that goes on the outside, on the inside, vice versa. Inside.
Right.
But they're drilled and have 1-inch dowel rods in them. And the dowel rods are at a 45-degree angle, like a bridge.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I'm looking at. Like when you look at them or you describe them, I mean, it's like it's like an engineered piece of studding. I mean, it's not something that necessarily you're just going to do on your own, like on a job site,
no,
right? Like you're going to purchase these things made. But so the whole purpose of these things, right, is to reduce the thermal bridging, right?
Correct. And these were designed for cold weather.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make an assumption, being that they come in millimeters, that they come out of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But they're using them a lot in Minnesota and Wisconsin and places like that.
Right.
Where extremely cold temperatures.
Now, I asked you this up earlier off the air, but like when you look at them, I thought you would have to go straight with blow-in insulation, foam insulation. But you were saying that you could pretty much do anything, blow in or whatever.
Yeah, they're designed to use whatever type of insulation you want to use. If you want to use bats, blown in, rock wool, or foam, which there's a whole different category of insulations out there that I've been looking at now.
Right.
Or cellulose. But the only thing is it depends on your state and your R value in your walls to what insulation you want to use. I prefer, if I was to do this, instead of using foam, use the bib system.
Right, which you're a fan of anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you've always been a fan of the bib system.
Well, it fills every void in the house, and the bib system is half what foam is.
Right.
But I like foam too, because I use foam around all the windows.
Right. It's just going to be costlier.
Yes, it just depends on your budget, on your construction of what you're trying to achieve.
So the strength though on these T-studs are actually going to be stronger than a typical like 2x6.
Correct, and because of their construction glued together, and probably a lot less warpage in them too. Because the way, yeah, I mean I get that, because the way they're put in, they're bridged like that, you're not going to get. You got a lot to move to warp. Correct. Just like building a standard T in your house.
Right.
You know, if you get, your stud's got a warp in it, you turn your warp, let's say, one down and one up. That way they cancel out each other and they make the T straight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same thing with a corner. You know, those areas, T's, corners, are stuff that you want to stay straight.
Right.
I'd say these T-studs would be excellent in the kitchen.
Right.
Because I think I sent you a picture.
Yeah, I mean I cook pretty good.
No, I thought.
Oh.
Remember, I sent you a picture last night of the 3/4 inch crack on the cabinet.
Yes.
And the guy was going to caulk the crack on a brand new countertop.
Yep.
And because two of the studs, the crown was turned the wrong way.
Yep. Yeah. Randy likes to send me nice videos that, you know.
There's some goofy stuff out there. And you know the bad thing is, I've seen that in real life.
Oh sure, I mean all these videos that we watch and make fun of are real videos. They're real issues.
And a lot of people don't pay any attention to them, but you have to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, we go down these rabbit holes, you and I do, on these the ones about Friday. We'll just leave it at that. That guy is my favorite, because he some of the stuff that they show, like that he's got to be an inspector or something. I don't know what he really is.
He is. Matter of fact, I want private messages. See if I can't get him to start talking.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because some of the stuff he shows that should never happen.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, I'm with you.
And the way he describes it, it's hilarious, because he's basically going, do you really know what you're doing?
Exactly. So going back to the T-studs, though, these are going to be exterior studs. You're not going to really put these on the interior of the house. I mean, these are all exterior walls. But they're going to cost you a little more, right?
Well, they said the cost on the average house is $2,000 more.
Okay.
But like we said it before, you got to have a trade-off somewhere.
Right.
All right. So if you go for this unit here, which you know you're going to have to spend more for insulation.
Right.
Okay. But in the meantime, you might be able to downsize your furnace and your air conditioner.
But you're certainly going to do the overall, the maintenance cost, the daily cost of running the house. Certainly is going to drop down.
Correct. And that's where you're going to get your biggest payoff, is in your electric bill or your gas bill.
Well, and by using this, the number one heat loss, aside from windows and doors not properly installed, but in terms of the wall itself, right? The number one heat loss comes from those corners and those joint, where things are coming together and not insulated correctly. So this T-stud is going to help eliminate some of that issue. It will.
Another thing that there's a real loss on heat is your top plates.
Right.
All right, because you never could glue your top plates because you can't straighten your wall once the glue dries.
Right.
And I think I sent you a picture of a wall framing that was so crooked.
Yeah, it looked like going down 421.
Yeah, and but I solved that issue on my addition by using foam seal that we put on top of the block to seal between the mud seal and the block. Well, it's only an eighth inch thick foam, but you get it 5.5 inches wide. So it takes a few seconds to tack it on. You use roofing tacks. But then when your house settles, it compresses it. Now you have a gasket. You have less heat loss.
Makes sense. Covers that up.
Well, I have to thank Buck Welborn for teaching me how to use a thermal camera, because it's amazing what you see with the thermal camera.
Sure. You see it all, don't you?
Yeah.
For sure. So, well, that's cool. I mean, T-studs, now are T-studs something that you can pretty much pick up anywhere at building supplies, or is this like a special order
This
kind of
is a
thing?
special thing.
Okay.
I don't think it's come down this far.
Right.
I'd like to see the results on them in the hurricane testing and stuff, but like I say, most of the construction for this is up north.
Gotcha. Well, it's good for us. We say a lot of that, but like here in the mountains, North Carolina, like when it comes to building, like we're a weird mix of climate, right? Like we're in the South, but we're also in the mountains, and we get the high winds like the beach does, and so it's probably not a bad thing to copy, I guess you would say, some of those technologies for the high country.
It would be important for us.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of bats. I mean, bats has application.
Right.
You can't always foam, and you can't always put the bib system in. And but if you get an insulator that comes in and he compresses it behind the electric box, then it doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah, and which is always the case. And we've all seen it, especially it goes back to what I was saying about windows a while ago. How many times have you seen someone put the bad insulation in a crack next to a window, and they're just shoving as much as they can in there,
Well, they just shutting air out. But
right.
As many windows I've took out and put back in, most of the time it doesn't ever go back to the outside sheeting. It just goes right in about an inch in there.
Yeah.
So that really doesn't accomplish anything.
Right.
It's cheaper to go get a open cell window foam, and then take your time and spray it all the way back to the sheeting.
Right. Go back that way.
Yeah, and then go to the next window. Don't fill it all the way out. Let it expand out before you go back. Yeah. So that way you can fill 3.5 inches, or you can fill 5.5 inches.
Right. And you're not warping the
window frame.
Yep.
And it will actually save you money down the road.
Gotcha.
But I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of foam. I like commercial window foam.
Sure.
Not the stuff you buy at the local stores.
Yeah. Well, it's the little cans of stuff only do so much, right?
Great stuff.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right, we're going to come back, talk about some more studs. Thanks for listening to us. We'll take a break. Thank you so much for being part of the All About Home Construction community. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you the best content, and we're thrilled to have you as a valued listener. We want to thank the winners of our sticker contest: Elizabeth, Diane, Mark, Linda, Scott, Chuck, Deb, William, Katie, and Colin. We hope you guys enjoy the prize, and for everyone out there, don't forget to share the podcast with your families and friends. We'll have more contests soon, so everyone can be a winner. That's right, All About Home Construction here on WAETA. Thanks for listening to us. Talking a little bit about studs this morning. So, yeah. So, we got the traditional wood studs, but, traditional wood studs going to run you, what, a couple bucks a stud?
A 2x6 is running $7.78 right now.
Okay.
And this is on the low side. And here in Boone. Yep. Sometimes it sends me to Alpharetta, Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I don't quite understand that.
Well, Atlanta, Boone, same thing.
And, yeah, right. But versus the T-stud at $20 a piece.
Right.
So you have to really think your way through.
Sure.
If that's what you want to go for.
Right.
I would think it'd be better to invest in floor trusses.
Right.
So it's easier to run your ductwork, your plumbing, your wiring, and everything, and stay with a stud.
Right. Well, it makes sense. Well, okay, so there's all sorts of other studs. Wood being the traditional, dime a dozen houses, right? And not to say there's anything wrong with the wood, but I mean, it's strong, it works. But when you're talking about this thermal barrier, it seems like wood is not necessarily the best. I mean, I've always thought about it. When you think about insulating a wall, whatever insulation you use, right? Every 16 inches, instead of that insulation, you've got a 2-inch thick wood,
Correct.
Or 1.5 inch thick,
Inch and a half.
wood. And so, but wood doesn't have the same R value, and that's why, like, log houses and things, like, doesn't have the R value that insulation does. And so my thing is, like, is there better options than wood in terms of insulation in the house? And there's all sorts of other things we can use now. Concrete studs, even that's sort of a newer thing we don't know a whole lot about.
I don't either.
Yeah, but there are concrete studs, and it's kind of interesting. I was doing a little quick search on it. It seems to be more of a commercial application. Very similar to ICFs, only they're studs instead of in complete walls. But and I guess you kind of consider an ICF a stud. I mean, not really. I mean, it's more of a wall, but it serves the purpose, right?
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of other materials out there, and I know one that you like a lot is the metal studs.
Well, I do, and the reason I like the metal studs is because if you have a stud cavity, you have 15 and 15/16 of insulation in your wall. All right, so you're not losing that 1.5 inch like
right.
you are in the wood stuff.
Right.
But that adds a new aspect to building because now you got to deal with thermal. Mm-hmm. All right, that's what the T-stud was doing, was dealing with the thermal break.
So I guess a good when it comes to building, a solid house, if you did something like T-studs for the exterior walls, would you rather have a metal stud on the interior?
Yeah,
or,
because I have the equipment
right.
that I can shoot my wood to them.
Right.
Okay, and another thing is I like to use steel studs in kitchens.
Okay.
Because they're straight.
Yeah. Because
anywhere.
When you hang that cabinet up, it's
like that picture I sent you, that 3/4 cock joint.
Yeah.
And but it's just you got to plan on what you want.
Right.
And which that's the contractor's job to
sure.
do that for you. But you have to answer the question. Yeah. We built 2 houses, and we actually built those houses cheaper out of steel than we would have out of wood. Mm-hmm. But then the housing crunch come and it killed the steel industry.
Right.
And they were making the steel studs out of cuts off of big steel plates, or not steel plates, but steel rolls. Mm-hmm. And they were a byproduct, and that's the reason steel studs was cheaper.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
Dietrich is a company out of Pennsylvania that designed a floor truss that can free span 33 feet.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, it's a whole house. Like
yeah.
I mean, essentially.
So you don't have to build anything. You don't have to have any walls to support it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of steel floor joists out there that doesn't have holes in it. Mm-hmm. And Dietrich had engineered holes for your ductwork and your plumbing. So a plumber could run a whole length of pipe from the outside in, like a 20-foot length, and just while it was in the hole, he could cut it there and he'd do his soldering and run his lines out.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Instead of drilling every floor joist.
Right. What I like about the metal studs too is the fact that they're not going to rot. Termites are not going to eat them, and they're fireproof. I mean, the studs themselves are fireproof.
Yeah, and the misconception of the insurance company giving you a break, because those houses we built was fireproof houses. And that's because we use hardy plank on the outside and metal roof. But the homeowners never got an insurance break from the insurance companies.
Right.
So that really didn't help anybody.
Sure. Well, okay, so what about LVLs, things like that, engineered products, these laminated veneer lumbers and strand lumbers and stuff like that? those are not necessarily used as studs, but they're going to be more of like your headers and your beams and things
Correct.
like that.
But let's now, you hit on something right there, because let's take a grate wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked about a house that I estimated on that had 3 stories of a house that's rotted.
Right.
All right. The grate wall was so tall it was 2.5 stories, and they'd build it out of 2x6s, but there wasn't a 2x6 that would go the whole length from the bottom plate up to the rafters. All right.
Right.
So you could platform frame it.
Okay.
And some of it was platform frame. Some of them wasn't. Some of it, they pieced the beams together, or pieced the wood framing together to make a beam.
Mm.
Well, that house was at 5,600 feet.
Okay.
Well, I was looking back toward Kentucky, so think about the wind that comes from Kentucky to Beach Mountain.
Just hitting right up on that. I mean, that's going to be one of the higher wind loads of
Correct.
A building here.
So
now.
actually, what made it fail was the contractor's construction, because of the vibration from the wind.
Mm.
All right. They didn't read the manual on how to install the windows proper.
Right.
Because there wasn't any shims in the windows. It was all helped by the flanges.
So, right.
And
right.
Now, hold on here. They did have shims underneath each corner of the window, and that's it.
Just to square it up, though, not to hold it necessarily.
Yeah, and so the windows failed because of the vibration of the wind, which in turn caused the studs to starting to rot.
Right.
And but there you go, and that wall right there, the engineering called for king studs to be made out of 8-inch LVLs to support the wind.
Okay. Huh.
If those guys would have built that wall out of 2x8s where they could got them up to 28 foot long, they'd probably never had a problem with the walls.
Gotcha. But they use the LVL.
No, they use 2x6 framing.
Oh, instead. Okay, I'm with you.
And they pieced it.
Right. Okay. Now, just for notes here, king studs is going to be your full length.
Correct.
Bottom plate, top plate studs.
Yeah, and a lot of people, king stud is one, but jacks are different. All right, like a 2.0, 3.0 window, you'd put one jack.
Right.
4.0, 2 jacks. 6.0, 3 jacks. That's a formula that my dad taught me when I was a kid.
Okay.
To make sure that you have enough wood.
Gotcha.
But then again, there's instances like when we built Will's house, there weren't any king studs. Every stud was a king stud.
Okay, so we'll say, how do you not have it? But you're saying there wasn't like just dead.
Yeah. What we did was we used full length studs, but I had a metal track made specifically for his house that the outside of it only had 3/4 of an inch, and then it come across the top, and I had 4 inches on the inside.
Okay.
Then that way, every stud acted like a brace.
Right.
So
solid.
Yeah. So that we didn't have to have. We only had to have one jack in it. And the reason for the jack was just to hold the wind header.
Okay. So, would there be any advantages then of doing like your king studs in something like an LVL or a metal stud even, and then just going back with a cheaper jack stud as typical 2x6?
Well, no, not really when you mix and match like that, because now think about a steel stud is a C, all right, where instead of a square.
Right.
So you got to make sure you flip it around and make sure your insulation's good.
Oh, okay.
And another thing too is because if you go to Lowe's and look at those steel studs they got, that's a 26 gauge stud.
Okay.
That stud will not be able to work on the outside wall. You have to use a 16 gauge stud for outside, 20 gauge for inside.
Gotcha.
To carry the load.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. Well, cool. Well, do you know anything about the LSL, the laminated strand lumbers? Or is that? I mean, that's a little bit different than the veneer lumbers, right?
Correct. I watched them be manufactured, and all this stuff was designed out of, like OSB was first designed out of alderwood. Alderwood is a tree that grows out west that only gets about 6 inches.
Okay.
So they were using scrap trees.
Junk trees, essentially. Right.
Yeah. Right. So then it morphed into yellow pine.
Right.
okay, and that's what we're using today. And you can make it out of spruce, but the Power Lamb is made out of slivers about 2 foot long, and it's put in a machine with a glue, and it's hot, and it comes up and compresses it into the square. So that square could actually be 3 foot by 3 foot.
Right.
And it could be 40, 50, 60 foot long.
That's cool.
And then as it comes out dry through all this immense pressure and heat that is put in, then that holds it till it dries. Then when it comes out, it's sanded on all 4 sides. Then it's salt to meet what they need.
Whatever width or length.
Yeah.
That's cool. But you're still relying on that glue, epoxy, whatever. But I guess it's interesting. I just worry that it would fail. But, I mean, I know they test everything, right?
Engineered everything.
Yeah. Cool. We'll take a break. We'll come right back. Thanks for listening. The Boone VFW Post 7031 is looking at making improvements to their Veterans Memorial Wall, and you can help. Here's Chuck.
We could do engraved bricks to cover the memorial. It's in honor of the veterans who have served and some that have given their all for our country. And that's the one thing that we feel as the VFW that we can do to honor those who have come before and those who are even present today.
But Chuck, what do we have to do to participate?
You don't have to be a war veteran in order to be a part of this memorial. It's just that you served.
What is the cost?
That fee is only $50, but it's a lifetime investment.
If you would like to help participate by honoring a family member, a friend, or a loved one, you can contact the Boone VFW Post 7031 at 828-264-9570. They are on VFW Drive just off of State Farm Road here in Boone. Thank you for all that I've served. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. Thanks for listening. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Talking a little bit about studs this morning. And no, I know I'm not a stud, Randy. It's okay. We've done talked about T-studs. We're going to move on. So, yeah. Okay, so talked a little bit. We got wood studs. We got T-studs we talked about. We got the metal studs, LVL, LSL. So I don't know if you would really consider this studs, but when it comes to building outside walls, what about these structural panels, these pre-manufactured panels? Typically, it's like the sandwich stuff, right? The OSB with insulation in the middle. Not really a stud per se, but takes the place of a stud, right?
But it is a structural entity,
right?
Okay, and but there again. You have to have a level of education to build a house out of these, okay? Because these came out in the early '90s,
right? And
I remember watching this old house with Norm Abram.
It's great back in the day.
Yeah,
well, I mean I still like it, but it's great back in the day.
But they had ordered this wall panel from the company, and it was shipped on a tractor trailer full length with no joints in it.
Just stand up one wall and you're done.
Yeah, they had a crane. They set it up, but it already had the windows, holes, outlets, everything cut out. All right, now a lot of homes, when they come to the job, you still have to have a crane to set them.
Sure.
But they come in panels that might be 10, 20 foot long.
And that's what I've seen is these like, these shorter sections that you put together. So, okay. Well, we have a caller on the air. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate your program.
Thank you so much.
I was calling to see if you could make a referral or suggestion. We have a log cabin with the big square logs, and one of them is deteriorating, and we noticed the ants attacking it late last summer, and need to get someone with some expertise in that field that could come and repair it.
Well, a lot of times they can be that can be cut out and another log glued back in.
Yes, sir.
And
you know someone that does that kind of work?
Well, yeah.
Do y'all do that?
Yeah, I'm actually a general contractor, so. And if you'll call back after the show, I'll take your name, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But there is a spray that you can buy, and that is it's actually a food grade insecticide that you can spray, and it won't stink and stuff like that. And but I'll try to find it here and put it on the air that you can spray your logs with, and that will stop it because that's carpenter ants coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid I think this one is damaged, and it probably needs to, like you say, chip that and that one replaced, and like maybe that spray will help preserve the other ones.
Well, if possible, it's a lot better to take a couple inches out of the log and put a piece in, which I know you're going to see the piece, than it is to try to support the house and put a new log in. That's where the expense comes in when you're trying to support a house.
Well, because you changing one log out versus part of a log, right? I mean, that's like you said, you got to lift the entire section up.
Correct.
To get one log out.
And it deals with lifting it with threaded rods drilled through the logs with jacks on the inside and outside to lift it up just to change the log out. So a lot of times it creates a lot more work changing it than it does to cut it out and fix it.
Yeah, cut out sound like a good way to go, and certainly not anything that I would attempt, but hopefully someone could do it before it gets any worse.
And just I'm trying to find this chemical that I use. I know I keep it at home because when ants get in the summertime, when ants start to go, I start spraying around the house, and it doesn't kill birds, doesn't kill dogs, and it's actually food service safe.
That's the best part, I think, because I hate that smell of some of those chemicals, right?
Yeah, I do too.
So.
But I'll see if I can find.
Well, yeah, give us a call back after the show here in about 9 minutes, and we'll get your contact and hook you up with Randy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the show.
Thanks for listening to it. Yeah, really appreciate that. Give us a call 828-262-1567, and thank you so much. And I hadn't really thought about that, but like I've seen log houses where you've got the one log that wasn't dried, or I saw a house one time that had one like the white pine, yellow pine had gotten mixed up, and so there was one log that wasn't cured right and different type, and it bowed out like 6 inches or something.
Well, that's generally when you get a log like that, they don't have a tongue and groove.
Right,
they're the flat one.
Yeah, and so but I hadn't thought about like the nightmare of changing one log out, because you got to lift. And you can't just lift one section up. I mean, like you're going to have to do the whole span, a whole wall.
Well, you got to deal with what they put together.
And then you can't mess up anything inside and on the roof. I mean, when you go to lifting up parts of a house, it could, I don't know, it could be a nightmare. I'm with you. Cut it out and replace that section. But
this Tempo InView Tempo SC Ultra for insects. Is it's 240 milliliters, and it's $48 a bottle.
Okay.
But it also has its own directions to mix for how much you're going to do, like a pint, quart, or a gallon, and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And
you just go around and spray it.
Yeah, and just spray it, and it'll take care of it. Because, like I say, I keep it at my house so I can spray, and it's not overbearing. We don't use anything that's overbearing.
Sure. Well, I mean, no one likes that chemical smell, and it's
off gas.
Off gas, and yep, it gives you headaches. It's especially when you got kids and animals around too. That it makes it that much worse.
Correct. And I like to see the critters in the yard, all but the groundhogs.
Randy and his groundhogs. He likes to eat those. They taste pretty good.
They are, if you fix them right, they are.
Yeah.
But
no, I get it though, because you're a farmer, right? You're an old school farmer. You've raised cattle, and you've repaired buildings and barns. I mean, that's what I hate about groundhogs is they come in and they like to dig underneath the buildings and settle.
Well, my addition on my house.
Yeah.
We built on an old deck, and there was nothing wrong with the deck. And now they've got in there and they've undermined the piers.
Yep.
So now I've got to jack it up and re-pour both sides because of the groundhogs. And
I'm with you. And then like I said, if you ever raise cattle, there's nothing worse than a cow stepping in a groundhog hole. Horses, same thing. But
oh yeah, but I caught that in last year, and I'm still mad at myself because I didn't have time to take it and tame it. Because me and my brother both had groundhogs when we was kids.
Randy and his pet groundhogs. What's next? Pet skunk?
No, I wouldn't know how to fix them. But I have worked for clients that have had.
Oh, I've seen pet skunks. You get that scent sac removed, however they remove it, and I think you're supposed to raise them from babies, though. It's probably not legal in North Carolina anymore either.
Probably not, but when Shelby was little, I had to go feed the horses up on my place, and there was a skunk that was so small that it got stuck in a horse hoof.
Wow.
In the mud, and it's wild because they're aggressive.
Yeah.
But instead of turning their tail to you and going to spray you, they're going to attack you with their teeth.
Yeah. Oh, they're vicious little animals, dude.
And because that's what I was going to do was catch it and have it fixed, but
those skunks and raccoons, I'm telling you, are vicious animals, dude. I think raccoons are more vicious than skunks, though.
Well, here a couple of weeks ago, Jamie caught and hemmed up a possum. And they got my welding gloves, and Jamie caught it. And now it's hanging around the house.
Oh, that's funny.
So we put scraps out for it. But I think it's been roughed up.
Yeah.
Because it's a little slow. And it's not a full-grown possum, but my brother raised possums when he was a kid.
That's crazy.
He come in. He said,
never knew anyone had a pet possum. I mean, I know they're around.
They don't live long.
Yeah.
They live about 2.5 years. That's as long as they go.
But full disclosure, you got to have permits in North Carolina. You can't just go out and catch Randy can't go out and catch a pet.
Correct. Now we back when they had the animal shelter up on Beach Mountain. Now we did take fawns.
Yeah.
And take to them because hay season is bad on
You're
fawns.
always right.
I mean, I've been lucky. Last year I only got one.
Yeah.
The year before one. But I know that there's been years where we've got 14 or 15.
Wow.
And most of the time those are young does that don't know any better. Mm-hmm. And so if we see the weeds move, we put somebody in the field to try to run them out.
Right.
And not touch them.
Right. So, well, there you go. Randy's.
Oh, I will tell you this. I do have my mother's cookbook. Mm-hmm. And 3 animals that are in that cookbook are groundhog, possums, and coons.
Now, I've never ate raccoon. Always wanted to. Never ate it.
Well, I have. It tastes like mutton to me.
Okay.
And I don't like lamb, but I like mutton if it's fixed right.
Right. Well, there you go. That could be our next steak dinner.
No, I doubt that.
You're not going to make us a raccoon and possum soup?
We did have the, when we did that thing at Fire Rock Station.
Yep.
I did meet some people from Bristol, the VFW over there, and once a month they have a wild game meal.
That'd be cool, though.
Yeah, and
what wild game would Randy fix, though? That's the question.
One of my favorites would be frog legs.
Frog legs. So maybe coming soon to the VFW.
Matter of fact,
you.
I cooked breakfast before. I cooked some frog legs and took them out and give them to people.
All right. Where do you get frog legs? I guess you can order them. I guess they're popular. Randy's got 2 grandkids that live next door in a pond.
No, but them boys love frog legs.
Love it.
I got to get some gator for them. Cook them some gator.
That would be a fun mix. I'm gonna put that in your ear there. That would be a fun dinner for the VFW to try.
Cotton got mad at me when we went to Minnesota. He caught 40 crayfish. I mean, they were about 3 inches long.
That's crazy.
And he said, I want you to fix these for me, Papa. And I said, okay. Then he took off and went back to the beach and went swimming and stuff. And I said, he said, where's my crayfish? I said, I had to turn them loose. I said, do you not realize that they don't breathe underwater?
Yeah.
They'll drown.
Yeah.
So I had to order him some crayfish out of Louisiana.
All right. Well, good stuff. Well, thanks for listening to us. Give us a call back, that listener. We appreciate it. And thanks to all of you, all of our listeners out there. And hopefully, T-studs, wood studs, things like that. Hopefully, we answered some questions and we gave you some cool knowledge today. So,
Yes, I hope so.
Well, thanks for listening to us. Randy is going to go and raise some skunks and eat some more frog legs, but he'll be back next week.
Nah, you know what I got growing right now?
It's
Icicle radishes.
icicle radishes works for me. It's
Hey.
more than I got. Thanks for listening to us. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the podcast edition of All About Home Construction. We want to thank Skipper, Dave, and Bill for supporting the show. If you're enjoying this episode and you want to help us by creating some more awesome content, there are a few ways you can show your support. Subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. This actually helps us reach new listeners and climb the charts. And please share this episode with your friends and family. Word of mouth is always the best kind of advertising. You can support us directly through our page on Spotify. The links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening to us.